Alrighty, so I guess I am up next, kind of rounding out some of the working group discussion here. You're going to hear from me, and then Mike, you're up next to give your presentation on State Coordinating Council. But yeah, just wanted to give some updates here on education and outreach. That's really been the big focus for me this year. If anybody attended the mid-year review, we've got a slide up here that looks familiar. When we think about the education and outreach working group, I pulled out just a few of the facets or aspects of things that we were really working on. So working group is one, podcasts, we had workshops, public events, conferences and webinars, fact sheets, and of course the website. And so the plan in June was to continue as is for the podcast and the working groups, push a little bit harder on outreach events as well as conferences and webinars, update our fact sheets, and then upgrade the website. And then we had added a new effort, which was social media, which hopefully some of you all got to interact with. Rye, Jessica, Eric, and Claudio, they got me as one of their victims, but it was really, really fun and really well done. I love the energy that they were bringing. So, but yes, this was the plan going forward in June. And then just recall that, the website we kind of identified as one of those central pieces to the E&O efforts where we wanted all of the information and data to live, so that it's just it's a very easy and accessible platform across different generations. And it was just a great way to link things back and forth between like YouTube, for example, or social media. So I'm going to start off by talking about the website upgrades. So hopefully folks have navigated there in the last couple of months or the last couple of weeks and seen all of the great work that's been going on. And so I need to just state explicitly that this has been a lot of work on the website upgrades from Claudio and Eric. So I'm really, really appreciative of all the effort they've put in. I'll show a little bit on that later. So when we were building the website, I think Rosa, our operations director in the back, had the brilliant idea of let's embed Google Analytics into the website so we can track performance over time. And so we did just that. And if anybody's been in Google Analytics before, there's some fun things like where are people visiting your where are people located when they're visiting your website, so in what country. But then there's also some really important metrics that we're using to drive development of the website. So some of those are new users, average engagement time, and there's honestly a bajillion of them. But the top four I would think are views, active users, total engagement time, and then number of events. And so we launched the analytics platform sometime in late August. And so the midpoint between then and today is kind of at the end of October. And if we look at that midpoint as one spot and then look at the growth change from then to now, we're seeing over 400% growth across all different traffic coming to the website and engagement. So the only thing that's down is average engagement time, but I think that's because people are navigating away into different other areas. And so more deeper technical dive on the website. If we look at where people are going, they are mostly going to the homepage, which is fine. But historically, our homepage wasn't as engaging as I would hope it could be. I don't know if that's coming through okay, but here's just a quick screenshot I grabbed from way back when. We had a big banner up at the top, just had our name, wasn't anything super exciting, and we had sprinkles of information that we didn't know if people were clicking on or not. And so we've gone through different iterations, and I've got a typo up there. These are homepage modifications 1.0 and 1.1. So sorry about that. But, on the right-hand side, what we have here is kind of an iteration. This is where we started playing around with what do we think are the most important things on the website that people are going to want to click on. Because remember, most people were just going to the homepage at first and kind of just staying there. And so we thought it would be best if the homepage was populated with a bunch of different stuff that we thought people should know about. And so today, here we have, it's just a little quick video, screen capture of what our homepage looks like today. At the top, we've got a banner, but now there's a carousel, they call it. And there's a carousel up top, and it just goes through a bunch of different things that we wanted to highlight. We've redone the mission and purpose. The home got different metrics up there, featured content, news and events, et cetera, et cetera. And so able to just continue adding different content there so people can explore it, scroll, and get lost. And really dive into the website and get a better sense of all the things that we're doing. So into 2026, we're going to just continue to add papers, post webinars, news articles as they come in, so just the smaller maintenance stuff. And in terms of upgrading, we're going to focus in on some of the other pages that aren't necessarily as visited as much, but things like refining the reference document section. The news and media tab has been refined, and then we're going to add a couple of new tabs up at the top. And so before I get into what one of those new tabs is, I do want to go over the research tab here. Oops. So, okay. So if you go to our homepage and then you navigate up into the top, research, and you go to publications, you're going to land at a video here. I don't know if I can mute that. Where that's coming from. I apologize. But what we have here on the research page is, I think that's coming from the video, so I apologize there. We have different tabs up at the top now. So all of the peer-reviewed publications that Dr. Shu's group has published, along with some of our other partners, they're all on our website, free to download and to access. They should be all now open source. But now you can organize these by, we've got all papers tab, so you can just see all the different papers in reverse chronological order, or you can go through the different tabs and click on different segments that we have here. One of the other features that we've added is the ability to filter. And so if you add or you just start typing in a keyword, it'll pop up with those keywords in the papers. And otherwise, you can add different author names, and it'll also filter it by that. So this hopefully just a quick update or example of how we're modifying and trying to make the user experience better. If we go look at some new visions here, this was an idea from Dr. Shu. And the idea here is to populate a new data and map tab. I think the name is still to be determined, but what's the vision here? Well, we want to have an interactive GIS map that has little pinpoints on there. If anybody's used GIS, you know what I'm talking about. Little icons or points with approximate locations of all the pilots that are being conducted throughout the Permian Basin, produced water test beds and research centers, so Texas Tech, NMSU, even our friends up in Colorado, in California, and then add specific metadata to those so that people can get a sense of all the different research activities that are going on throughout the country. And so the real big purpose here is to consolidate all of the data that's spread across the different papers, the different reports, et cetera, and put them all into a single web page so that you're not having to go hunt through supplemental informations on Science Direct, download different spreadsheets or email professors about where can I find this data. We just want to have it all centralized in one location. And so in conjunction with the map, we want to have this table down at the bottom. The vision's still kind of being determined right now, but we're going to put and populate all of those different reference documents underneath each individual effort. So hopefully it makes it really, really easy to access all of the data, especially pilot data associated with produced water treatment. And so likely this page is going to live probably under the research tab. Final name still TBD, and then we're aiming for a Q1 2026, end of Q1 2026 draft kind of release date. So no pressure, guys. All right, taking a step back, I know this is the E&O working group, but I want to take a step back and talk about kind of the working groups as a whole and make a little bit of an announcement. So the first announcement is that, or the main announcement is that we're taking the treatment, testing, and evaluation working group and the infrastructure, implementation, and planning and engineering working group, and we're going to kind of combine those into something that we're calling the treatment to deployment working group. So big benefit there. We've got one working group instead of two. And then the purpose of this was not to just simplify workloads, but it was to create more of an end-to-end value chain that together, when coupled with risk and tox and honestly E&O at the back end, we're going to be able to frame, evaluate, and bound potential produced water treatment and deployment pathways in a manner relevant to pretty much all of our stakeholders. So kind of in a nutshell, or putting it more in English terms, I personally thought that the different working groups were a little bit too siloed and that they weren't connected enough. And so one of the things we're going to want to do is take the outputs from the risk and tox working group and use those to drive infrastructure implementation, planning, and engineering things. So for example, We want to be able to use pilot and bench testing information to inform TEA or techno-economic analysis efforts. They can look at different treatment trains or different approaches or scenarios. And so this is kind of a secondary announcement that, I'm going to be working with Dr. Schoon. We've got a whole team here now that's going to be focused very specifically on TEA, so we can do some of these efforts. And the main goal there is to open source some of or pretty much all of the workbooks and the processes that we're developing. So from this TEA, we're going to be able to translate some of these outputs to help inform infrastructure, energy, and siting realities. And that's, I think, going to help a lot with the communities because, as I'll mention in a coming slide here, a lot of the communities are approaching us saying, hey, we love the work that the consortium is doing. We believe that the water can be treated to a safe level, but what's kind of that next step? Where are these facilities going to be located? How much is it going to cost? How are you going to convey water from point A to point B? And so that's what I mean here by investigating other real world considerations that impact deployment pathways. And so kind of speaking of these workshops and going back into specific E&O activities that we're doing, one of the main things we stood up towards the end of 2025 was something we were calling community conversations. And so the primary purpose here, like some of the other E&O efforts in the past that Deborah had helped run, doing surveys, going to the state fair, et cetera, is to inform the general public on what produced water is, the state of the science around produced water, the challenges and opportunities, specifically here in New Mexico, if produced water reuse was allowable. So, but the secondary purpose is, we're gathering and getting all of these community leaders together kind of in the same room. And so it's giving us an opportunity to update the mayor's, Chamber of Commerce, economic development departments, et cetera, on what is the status of produced water and the regulations and help them understand, listen to them to try and understand what their view on produced water is. Is it something they want in their community? Is it something they don't? Identify what their blind spots are and see what barriers are in place that would be preventing them from implementing reuse. And so we quietly launched this at the end of 2025. And so on the left here is a press release from NMSU, New Mexico Produced Water Research Consortium, and NMSU expands community education and outreach. We had our first event in Jal on December 4th, and this is a photo I took from that event. If anybody notices on the far, right-hand side, that's Mayor Aldridge of Jal. And then on the far left-hand side, that is Commissioner Deanne Kimbrough from District 1 in Lee County. But they had a really, really great conversation, recorded all of it. We're still kind of going through a lot of that information, but it's these types of interactions. This was open to the public, but we didn't really get a whole lot of public attending on this one. But very recently in Carlsbad, held an event on January 8th. Jerry was there in support from Southeast New Mexico College, talking about all the great things they're doing there on workforce development. We had the mayor give introductions. But we, a lot more general public was there to help ask questions related to produced water, and we got a ton of great feedback from these communities thus far. It seems like everybody's wanting to use produced water, and they're really curious what the holdup is, along with some of those other kind of infrastructure and planning topics that I covered earlier. So looking into the future, we've got Hobbs set for early Feb. And then City of Farmington and San Juan set for early March. And we want to just keep traveling around. We haven't locked everything down yet, but we want to keep going around the state and trying to educate the public and then talk to local community leaders as well. So a couple more things really want to touch on here. Fact sheets. I know this one's been a long time coming, but what I'm showing here is this handout. So we've got Peter Knapp from Arrowhead that helped us do a design on this. I had kind of an ugly, just 5-page Word document that had a lot of this information. He was able to turn around into something that's more, I think, friendly to look at. And so we've got kind of, what is produced water at the top? How does it work? Where does it come from? Along with at the bottom, kind of a timeline that Dr. Shu helped put together for us of research accomplishments over the consortium's lifetime. What are these major milestones that have been being developed and the research publications that are coming out from there? And then on top of that, I know I mentioned this in 2020 or in the mid-year review, but so we've got the Science Simplified series, which is going to try to attempt to take all of the peer-reviewed publications and just distill them down into a single one-pager. And so I've got a lot of work here to do. I think we've got 30 plus publications so far. but this is just a quick snapshot again. Arrowhead helping us with the design here so that they look pretty. I've been taking these to events, and honestly, we can't print enough of them because people keep taking them and reading through them. And so it sounds like there's an appetite for this. All right. Looking into the future, what we've got here is kind of what the thought was originally in 2025. And then, one of the big words for me this year was iterate. And so, we came into this, there were a lot of things that needed to get moved and get pushed in advance. We need to prioritize things. And so being able to reflect about 6 months later, we're going to change how we're seeing 2026 a little bit based on what was presented previously. So 2026 podcasts are going to stay as is. We've got Toro podcasts. Again, we've also got social media. So I think those combined are going to give us a lot of great content there. But the working groups, like I mentioned, are going to be combined into this one treatment to deployment working group. For the workshops, workshops and public events were maybe a little bit redundant. So we're just kind of combining those into a single thing for right now, calling those community conversations. This is a very, very high priority for 2026, probably top 2. And then conferences and webinars are going to continue as is. So we've already started populating the webinar agenda for this year. Fact sheets, same as kind of above. We want to continue to revise these, put them on the website, edit them a little bit, and develop new ones. Also a high priority for 2026. The website was our main objective, turning that around for 2025. I think we're most of the way there. So we want to just keep things updated, of course, add the data tab, and then iterate where we need. And then the biggest thing, I would say my top priority for 2026 is social media, with goals of around 2 to 3 posts per week. And, this is not just a fun thing for us to do. This really goes hand in hand with the community conversations, because again, we're inviting the public, but they're not always coming in droves to see what's going on. And so what's a better way to reach the public is through social media, doing these kind of fun TikTok things, get them excited about the topic of produced water so that they can come to our website and then learn more. And so that's kind of the strategy there. I believe that's all I had for right now.